Just one more question for you, Doug. Why does it seem that the World Economic Forum is going after Europe and the US and Canada and Oceania, all those like Western nations, I guess, as opposed to Mexico and Central and South America?
Perhaps that's where the power lies. I mean, Europe and North America is where all the capital lies. How many members of the WEF are from Oriental nations?
Well, that's a good question. I'll look into that. I'm not really sure. But it does seem to me, I mean, they are trying to do things in, not just in Western nations. And the biggest proof of this is what's happened with Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan project was something that was cheered on by the World Economic Forum with their going all organic. And, they were basically following the template from the World Economic Forum. So, Sri Lanka doesn't classify as a Western nation, and they totally embrace the World Economic Forum's ideas. So I think they are everywhere else. It's just we might notice it more because we're Western nation people.
Yeah, Klaus Schwab has got to be an organizational genius, if nothing else. He's actually, found a bunch of like-minded people. In other words, the kind of natural-born sociopaths that run governments. They all think alike. Their interests are the same, and gotten them together so that they can collude and reinforce each other. It makes all the sense in the world, actually. He's actually a genius. I mean, it's perverse. I love that picture of him. I presume it wasn't fabricated, but who knows, where he's in this little bikini bathing suit, which is really kind of unseemly for somebody in his late 70s to be wearing a bikini bathing suit. And then his Ming the Merciless costume.
Yeah, it's Cobra Commander. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they fabricated that too, but we're dealing with an aberrant personality. And I think we've talked in the past about the fact that his court jester / court intellectual, Noah Yuval Harari, or whatever the guy's name is, wrote these two very pedestrian books that they got reviewed by every important publication in the world that establish him as one of the world's geniuses who can endorse everything that these people are actually quite clever, how they cover all the bases and, reinforce each other. Are they going to win? God.
Every time I hear someone bring it up, everyone's like, they're not going to win because what they're doing is not good, and there's too much hubris and things like that. So I mean, most of the people out here who are more on our side of the fence would say, oh, they're not going to win. I've seen no sign of that so far. I mean, if anything, they've completely outthought, outplanned, out executed every other approach on earth. And I certainly hope that they lose. I think they ought to lose if there's a universal justice in some way. Like they will lose, I guess. But I mean, I think we've only underestimated them. I have not seen anyone overestimate them so far.
You're right. And everybody on our side of the barricades, I've got to say people like ourselves, you and I, and some of the people listening to this are very stalwart, but most of the people that are opposed to them are just kind of, I don't like them very much. I'm going to vote Republican in the next election.
Right, exactly.
Gigantic, and that's about as far as it goes. And most of the Republicans they're worse than worthless. They're worse than the Democrats in many ways, as we've discussed in the past. So yeah, I hate coming to all these grim conclusions. I'd like somebody out there to give us some arguments why we're wrong. I mean, that would be good.
Right. Yeah,
I'd appreciate that very much.
Exactly. Especially if you have specific ideas as to why you believe that the drivers of the Great Reset will fail, I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear because I'd fully endorse any idea that gets to that end. I think the best thing, my hope, and this is just relies on hope, is that what they're trying to do is so unnatural, like so anti-human and and top down. And I don't like the top down stuff often fails for a whole number of reasons, because it just a lot of times it defies the natural order of things, defies human nature. That they will overreach at some point and cause a collapse, and that collapse will be extremely messy for them and everyone else. And what comes from that in the end, maybe something better. But that really is hope. It's like it's almost believing that Trump will save you, kind of a hope, which is never going to happen.